I'm Jenna Knox. I am the mother of a 3-year-old toddler and 9-month-old triplets. We didn't know we were having triplets until less than a month before our babies were born. So if you haven't heard that story, be sure to check out our pregnancy videos and subscribe to our channel. We'll be updating it weekly with glimpses into our life and new chapters of our story. If we break our story down to chapters, the first chapter would be the pregnancy, followed by the birth, which we've talked about, as well as the girls' NICU times. The next chapter would be that postpartum period when we brought the girls home as preemie newborns. This by far was the most difficult time. A lot of people will refer to that time as the 4th trimester. I don't even know that you can call it that with preemie babies. Because they are in what technically would still be their 3rd trimester in the womb. By the time they reached their due date, our babies were around 2 months old when they got to their full-term due date. So they're 2-month-olds, but they're really still like newborns. And at that point, it just seems like a really long and a really difficult haul, and it is. Rather than kind of give it to you blow by blow of the struggles we face day by day, I thought I would want to instead talk about the top 5 things that helped us survive, that got us through that time. So I'm going to count them down. Number 5 would be having a schedule. Now, when you have triplets, the chances are they will be born premature and they will spend some time in the NICU. So one of the positive things to come out of that is that the nurses will have your babies on a schedule and you can follow that schedule when you get home. So we kept them on their NICU schedule, which was feeding every 3 hours, and they would mostly just sleep between their feedings. So if close family members would come over to help us, the babies might be taking their bottles or they might be sleeping, depending where we were at on that schedule, but nothing was going to interrupt that schedule for us. After they would finish their bottles, we would need to keep them upright for around 30 minutes at least to help with their reflux. So that would be a good time for someone to cuddle the babies and help us out by burping the babies. But after that, it would be swallowed up and put them back down for their nap. The number 4 way we survived having newborn triplets has to do with sleep, and there's a reason there's a question mark on that. Because chances are there's probably not a lot of sleep happening. Everybody knows that parents of newborns face sleep deprivation. This is especially true when you have triplets. Figuring out a schedule at night with having to feed and burp and put back to sleep 3 babies at a time was really hard, and we tried it a lot of different ways in terms of breaking up the night into shifts or taking turns or both doing the feedings together to try to figure out a way to make it manageable, but there's just no way to sugarcoat it. There's just not a lot of sleep happening for the parents. We were very fortunate that we had family members chip in to pay for a night nanny service to help us out, so that we were able to get some sleep at night. Eventually, we hired a sleep consultant to help us tweak our schedule once the girls got a little bit older, so that we could get them sleeping better at night so that we wouldn't have to have night nanny service anymore. And again, there's just no one right way of figuring out a schedule for your babies, whether it's that day or especially during the night. You're just going to have to figure out what works for you and your babies and your families based off of what resources you have available. But I've even heard about triplet parents who, looking back, wished they would have taken out a second mortgage on their house just so that they could pay for help at night, because it gets really tough. And even if you can have someone relieve you for a night so that you can get caught up on some rest, it's just so important for your health and your mental health, and for you to be somewhat rested so that you can better take care of your babies. Our next method of survival was to just accept the fact that we are outnumbered. Whether it's just me, or if Kyle's with me too, there's only one of me. I only have 2 arms, I only have 2 hands, 2 breasts. There are 3 of them, and I just had to learn to prioritize in every moment which baby or which babies need my attention the most. If that meant that one of them had to cry while I helped one of the other ones, that was something that I had to get used to. I had to realize that this is a moment in time. It is not going to scar them. They are not going to remember this. I'm doing the best that I can, and I need to let go of any guilt that's associated with that when I'm having to leave one baby and take care of another one. But I've just learned to take it moment by moment and prioritize, and I hear a baby crying right now, so I'm gonna go check on her. The number 2 way I was able to get by with newborn triplets has to do with postpartum mental health. And something I did not know before having triplets myself is that parents of multiples are at a higher risk of postpartum depression, including fathers, but especially mothers. That was something I was not prepared for. I didn't know ahead of time. I also didn't know, really, I didn't understand what postpartum depression was. I thought that to have postpartum depression, that meant that you wanted to hurt yourself or hurt your babies. Since those are the questions that they ask you when you're in the hospital and when you see your doctor. But while I didn't have those kinds of feelings, I was experiencing extreme sadness and anger that got worse as time went on. It didn't get better. And so I realized that I was suffering from postpartum depression, which is not something I ever thought I would deal with. But what I came to find out is that it is very common and luckily very treatable. And with treatment over time and a lot of support and patience from those closest to me, especially my husband Kyle, I was able to get through it and get to a point where I felt like myself again and felt like I could handle life, taking care of 3 babies. And so I'm not trying to say that if you have multiples, you're definitely going to have postpartum depression, of course. That's not the case. But regardless of whether you do or not, when you become a parent at all, especially with twins, triplets, or more, you're about to enter one of the most challenging phases of your life. And there are times where you just don't know how you're going to get through it until you do. And you come out the other side of it and realize that you are Superwoman. I love each and every one of my children and can't imagine my life without any single one of them. But it was really hard, very, very hard in the beginning. And I feel very thankful that I got the help I needed. So that brings me to my number 1 way that we survived the newborn stage with triplets, and that is by accepting help. This was something that was very hard for me in the beginning because I considered myself this strong, independent woman, and I like to think I can take care of things and handle things on my own. But having triplets was such a unique and extraordinary circumstance that I had to ask for help and be okay with that and be able to let go of that and accept help from this community that was surrounding me. I don't know where I would be without my parents. Kyle's parents, our family, siblings, aunts and uncles who've really stepped up to provide this support system. The term "it takes a village" has a whole new meaning to me now. This includes the outside help that we sought out. We got help from a lactation consultant, sleep consultant, nighttime nannies, daytime nannies, our doctors, pediatricians, therapists, psychiatrists, our friends. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And when I think of all these people, I'm just so thankful and so grateful because I can sit here and say I'm Superwoman, but the honest truth is that I don't see how I could have done it alone. There's also an online community of support. There are Facebook groups for parents of triplets. There are local groups, support groups for parents of twins or multiples, and there is a huge support system out there, and just it really helped me to learn that I'm not alone. There are other mothers who have gone through this, who are experiencing the same thing that I'm experiencing, or who have been there and gotten onto the other side of it, and that helped me know that I would get there too. And we're in a really great place now. We're doing really well, but we didn't get out there without a lot of help. So other moms of multiples, whatever help you have available to you or that you can afford, take it. Don't do it alone. There are people out there who want to help you. We're here. You can always reach out to us, comment with any questions or comments below. Thank you so much for listening as always, and we'll be back with more soon.